Welcome everybody. Today's video we're going to go over my Star Wars book collection. Now I've got a few of my favorites here, but I really do want to show you my whole collection is what I want to do, if I'm being completely honest, because I'm really proud of it, and I just hope you guys would enjoy this. So let's check out how this video goes and we'll see how it goes, okay? Alright, so first I want to talk about one of my favorite Star Wars books that I've read so far. And that is Star Wars Queen's Shadow. There's a lot of letters I was about to trace. This book is flipping fantastical. Now, if you're going to take any of my advice with this video, I would say go to Audible, just get 1 credit, or just buy this book because it's actually narrated by the woman that also voices Padme in the Clone Wars. So you are literally being read this book all about Padme's life after being queen by Padme Amidala herself, and it's so cool. I love when Star Wars does that. It is the absolute best. And the next video, we're going to go over that again. But I read this a while back. While I listened to it a while back, I started reading it, but then I was just like, the voice actress actually voices. I had to. But basically this whole series is Padme's life after being queen. It even goes through what she was doing while the next queen was being instated. Is that the word? Let's just read a little bit of this. When Padme Amidala steps down from her position as Queen of Naboo, she is ready to set aside her title and return to life out of the spotlight. But to her surprise, the new queen asks Padme to continue serving their people, this time in the Galactic Senate. Padme is unsure about the new role, but cannot turn down the request, especially since, thanks to her dearest friend and decoy, Sabe, she can be in 2 places at once. So while Padme plunges into politics, Sabe sets off on a mission dear to Padme's heart. And that basically had to do with going to the Outer Rim and kind of, if I remember correctly, I don't want you to quote me on this, but I believe she sent Sabe to free slaves on Tatooine. Now, in that series, there are 3 books. The Queen's Shadow, Queen's Peril, and Queen's Hope, all by E.K. Johnston, and all of them are read by the voice actress for Padme from the Clone Wars. So that is super sick. But let's move on to another book that I thoroughly enjoyed. Star Wars Ahsoka. And again, it's by E.K. Johnston. It seems like she can't miss when it comes to Star Wars. And once again, it is read by Ashley Eckstein, the voice actress for Ahsoka in the Clone Wars. This book is super cool. It is basically about Ahsoka kind of living life right after she left the Jedi Order. Let me just read you the summary real quick and then we'll talk about it. Ahsoka reached out for him again, this time for his hands and fingers, and for the balance of weight thrown by his hips and knees. She felt something awaken in her, every combat lesson Anakin had ever taught her. She remembered how to stand and how to hold the blades. She pushed her opponent's fingers too far apart and overturned his balance. She remembered and she could make him forget. He staggered back, surprised by her power over him, even at arm's length, but not yet overcome. No Jedi ever was. No Jedi ever was. No Jedi ever was. Basically, in this book, Ahsoka meets a ragtag group of people that want to rebel against their leaders. I'm being vague, but it's a really good book and a really good listen over on Audible. So Ahsoka helps them out, and eventually, I won't spoil the ending, but things happen and stuff happens. So that's all I'll give you. Things and stuff. Alright, next we've got the first and only High Republic book I've gotten through so far because I am a slacker. Star Wars The High Republic, Light of the Jedi. And this one is by Charles Soule. Charles Soule. For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were guardians of peace and justice. And that was said by Obi-Wan in the original trilogy. But this is a really fantastic book. Surprise. To be fair, I've read Star Wars books that I wasn't fans of. I've just brought you the best and the brightest. So, the High Republic looks fantastic. I've got the books. They're just waiting to be read, which just means I gotta get a little bit of time. But this was a really good book when it comes to just fleshing out these new characters. You could tell a lot of heart, and there's a pun to be had here. A lot of heart and soul went into these books. Now, this is a series I'm working on. The High Republic is a series I'm working on of actually reading. I have the books that I read, and then I have the books that I listen to on Audible, which is basically just so I can get reading done faster. I've just taken a break from actually reading Star Wars recently, and I'm more just reading pretty much anything. But I'm still listening on Audible to Star Wars, which we'll get to later. It is a golden age. Intrepid hyperspace scouts expand the reach of the Republic to the farthest stars. Worlds flourish under the benevolent leadership of the Senate, and peace reigns, enforced by the wisdom and strength of the renowned order of Force users known as the Jedi. With the Jedi at the height of their power, the free citizens of the galaxy are confident in their ability to weather any storm, but even the brightest light can cast a shadow, and some storms defy any preparation. That's just the first paragraph of the book summary. So if you're interested in this book, you can find it Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all your book places, because it's still pretty new. And I actually think there's a reprint coming out like next month for this book. But you get to meet a lot of cool characters in here, like Bell Zedifer, Elzar Mann. I'm blanking on some of the names because it's been over a year since I read this. I read this like right when it came out. And I believe that was 2021. Yikes. But the whole idea of like this rogue gang, I'm also blanking on that name, but them taking over and just like finding these hyperspace lanes, and there's like this ticking clock the entire book of all these parts going at all these worlds because the ship was destroyed in a hyperlane or in hyperspace. And it's just a really cool, like, it almost reminds me of Alfred Hitchcock and how he uses time as just this mover of momentum. That's one of the big tropes that is used in Light of the Jedi. Now, I get to show off my favorite book so far that isn't something read by the voice actors. I'm just going to say right now, Mark Thompson is an absolute beautiful gem of a voice actor, and it has been fantastic for Star Wars. And what I'm talking about is Star Wars The Old Republic. Revan. I have not played the Knights of the Old Republic. However, this book is amazing. Revan has been my favorite character for several years, and it's because I know of his story through YouTube and through this book now, and just tons of things. But just the story of how he went from a Jedi to a Sith, back to a Jedi, back to a Sith, back to a Jedi. And I believe that's where this book takes place, is the last time he's a Jedi. Because at the end of this book, something happens basically where you're pretty much thinking you're never going to hear from Revan again. Now, I haven't finished all the Old Republic books, so I'm not 100% sure on that. But I would definitely recommend pretty much anything you're seeing here. If you like Star Wars books, anything I'm showing you is a good course. Now, I'm not going to show this book, but if you like zombie horror books and Star Wars, read Star Wars Red Harvest. Wasn't my cup of tea, never been a fan of zombies, but if that's your cup of tea, I would love for you to enjoy it, and that's why I'm putting it out there. Next. We're dealing with Star Wars The Old Republic, Deceived by Paul S. Camp. Revan was by Drew Karpyshyn. Okay. Just had to make sure I said that right. Let's see. The second novel set in the Old Republic era, Revan is the first. And based on the massively multiplayer online game Star Wars The Old Republic, ramps up the action and brings readers face to face for the first time with Sith warrior to rival most sinister of the Order's Dark Lords, Darth Malgus, the mysterious masked Sith of the widely popular Deceived and Hope game trailers. That wasn't really much of a summary, it was kind of weird, but this is Darth Malgus. You can tell because this is his respirator mask. And basically this whole book is all about when the Sith take control of the Republic. They invade Coruscant and end up killing like a lot of Jedi because they attack the Jedi temple while like most of the masters are all away. This was definitely an enjoyable read. I don't remember as much about this book. I think I was going to school at the time. I just needed a stress reliever, and this was perfect. And also, it was the sequel to the Revan book, which I really want to read all of the Star Wars books out there. It's going to take a while, but I think I can do it. I've also read a few more. I'd love to talk about them, but I only have this book now. This is the book I'm currently reading. This is Star Wars The Old Republic, Fatal Alliance by Sean Williams. And this book is really fun. I'm back to Mark Thompson as my Star Wars narrator. I listened to Red Harvest right before this book, and now I'm on this book. And that's what makes me appreciate Mark Thompson for real. Oh my gosh. Absolute godsend to Star Wars narration community. In this book so far, I'm being taken on a trip where I guess you could almost say it's like a normal Star Wars book where it follows like 4 protagonists. You've got the Jedi Padawan that's not supposed to be there. You've got the senator that actually is in cahoots with the Empire. You've got a Sith acolyte that is also not supposed to be there. So as you can kind of guess, they go at it. And then there's just this item that is leading people to what they believe is a new world, and both the Republic and the Empire are trying to get as many new worlds, especially because this world is supposed to be high in material or minerals. And they all meet up at the Hutt's palace on... This is really testing me. Basically the Hutt planet. If you know, you know. Because I'm blanking on it hardcore, but this is a really fun book. I would honestly say, so far, if you're going to read any series, if you're going to start somewhere, either start at the very beginning with Dawn of the Jedi, or if you're just looking for a series to jump into anywhere in the canon or the canonical timeline or the Legends timeline, depending on which you want to go. If you want to go canonical, start with the High Republic. If you want to go Legends, start with the Old Republic. If you would like to just start just overall, I would say Dawn of the Jedi. If you really like when the voiceover artist narrates their own book, Ahsoka, there's The Queen's Hope, Queen's Peril, Queen's Shadow by E.K. Johnston. And then there's like fun little books like Dr. Aphra, where it's like a radio drama. And those are really fun too. Star Wars The High Republic. Quest for Planet X. Quest for Planet X. Quest for Planet X. This is the new junior novel for the High Republic, which I told myself this was where I was going to start following Star Wars and like buying all the books was with the High Republic, and so I have. Now my bank account doesn't love it, but I do, so I figure out a way for my bank account to tolerate it. This is a really fun-looking book. I've not gotten into the junior novels yet, but they always have fun-looking covers. Here, let's read the summary back here. Centuries before the Clone Wars or the Empire in the early days of the High Republic, it was an age of great exploration in a galaxy far, far away. Okay, let's get back into it. It is a time of uncertainty in the Outer Rim. Communications are unstable across the frontier, and rumors swirl of conflict between the Jedi Knights and a group known as the Path of the Open Hand. But none of that slows down the Republic's two most powerful prospecting families, the Grafs and the Santekas, who announce the hyperspace chase, a contest to chart new hyperlanes. Young prospector Das Lefbrock and brash teenager Sky Graf have their sights set on winning the race. They just need one more person to help them achieve their goal. Jedi Padawan Rupert Nitani. But after Rupert reluctantly agrees to join the team, she learns that their real plan is to find the mysterious and legendary Planet X. The trio's quest takes an unexpected turn when they come into contact with the members of the Path of the Open Hand. Their journey is about to become more exciting and dangerous than they ever could have expected, and the three heroes will have to put their goals aside to help the Jedi and the galaxy before it's too late. Before it's too late. Too late. Too late. Too late. Too late. sounds like it's going to be a very fun read. Get a little bit of page flipping in this. And go to the other side. And I'm back. If you're wondering what happened, my microphone arm is over here, and I completely overlooked that fact and just whammed it right in. So, that's the thing. Oh, if you're actually wondering, I've got a Scooby-Doo shirt on today. I really like this. This is from the complete third season. I really liked this specific design. I got it over on Wish for like $7. And if you didn't know, Wish actually has like a flat rate shipping now for some stuff, which is awesome, because that was why I stopped using Wish. It was like $28 for the shipping for like $28 worth of stuff. Anyway, I digress. We've got the High Republic Cataclysm by Lydia Gang. Alright, so this is another High Republic book, and as you can see, he's got a purple lightsaber. Those aren't too common. There is no losing until there is nothing worth saving. Even when we feel most alone, there's always something to save. Trust in the Force. This hardcover has like a really nice sound to it. I've gotta say, I really like the purple tones on this book. Even on the side is blue, to be fair. The side is blue. But I really like the cover because it's purple and it kind of stands out. I know a lot of High Republics tend to go towards either blues or golds, but this one kind of took a little bit of a turn, and I'm here for it. Alright, let's see what Cataclysm is all about. After the thrilling events of the High Republic Convergence, the Jedi race to confront the path of the open hand and end the war forever. Alright, let's read this summary. After 5 years of conflict, the planets Iram and Irona are on the cusp of a real peace. But when news breaks of a disaster at the treaty signing on Jeddah, violence reignites on the beleaguered worlds. There's a lot more big words in this. Wow. Together, the royal heirs of both planets, Fan-Tu-Zen and Siri Al-Banran, working alongside the Jedi, have uncovered evidence that the conflict is being orchestrated by outside forces, and all signs point to the mysterious path of the open hand, whom the Jedi also suspect of causing the disaster on Jeddah. We'll read the whole thing. With time and answers in short supply, the Jedi must divide their focus between helping quell the renewed violence on Iram and Irona and investigating the path. Apparently, I'm hungry. Where were we? Investigating the path. Among them is Jelinati, who turns to the one person she believes can unravel the mystery, but the last person she wants to trust, Axel Greylark, the Chancellor's son, imprisoned for his crimes, has always sought to unburden himself of the weight of his family name. Will he reconcile with the Jedi and aid in their quest for justice and peace, or embrace the path's promise of true freedom? Whew. Ain't that something? Let's see if it's a little different. We've got some lighter pages here. even it up. That is book number 2. And we'll round off the Star Wars books with the High Republic 3-book paperback box set, which I did not need. But look at that. Look at that. That is very cool. That is very chic. I don't think I'm using that right, but it's cool. And as you can see, there are the covers. There are the covers. And for a better view of those covers, there they are, there they are, there they are. We've got, what is this? Into the Dark, Into the Dark, Into the Dark by Claudia Gray. And that was the first one to come out, I remember for a fact. Oh, and it's on the side. That makes sense too. We've got Out of the Shadows, Out of the Shadows, Out of the Shadows by Justina Ireland. I'm getting good at names. And Midnight Horizon by Jose Older. Daniel Jose Older. I absolutely love the High Republic, and I can't wait to get to these books. I've now got this box set as well as all of the hardcovers because I have a problem, but it's fine. It's fine. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine. I am just a very big fan of Star Wars. That's why I put it in my Tinder bio. Am I right? Tap me up. All right. So that is the 3-book box set of the young adults High Republic books. The fact that I know that off the top of my head, that was so cool. You guys didn't see it, but I got to see what goes on in this book a little bit. This is Persona 3, Persona 3, Persona 3, Persona 3, Volume 1, Volume 1, Volume 1, Volume 1. Before the PS3 store shut down, I actually bought the original Persona 3, and I also bought the Persona 3 portable version on PS5, as well as P4 Golden, Persona 4 Golden. Problem was, when I went to Barnes & Noble, they had all of the issues for Persona 4, but they did not have the first one. It's I gotta know where to start, because I haven't played these games. So let's see what's going on in the back. Between one day and the next, inserting itself into reality at midnight, sits the dark hour. Few know about this special time that separates humans from the dangerous creatures known as shadows. It is here that a group of students finds the ability to summon their inner selves, their personas, to do battle with the shadows before they can consume minds of humanity. This is a really cool book, and I knew when I saw that this was a thing, I had to have it. I absolutely had to have it. I'm not fully getting into manga, it's not for sure, but this is a start. I used to be really into Pokemon Black and White in manga, and I was looking at the collector's edition of Pokemon Adventures because it was $18, and it's this big thick book, so I was maybe let's go to page 1. Let's see what page 1 is all about, because just looking here is a super cool just title page. What's going on? I can't see anything. It's hard to get a read on the situation. Yamagishi, is everyone okay? So, I have no idea how copyright works, so I'm gonna stop there. But I will definitely let you guys know what I think of this book after I read it. that being said, let's move on to the next book for a game that I have played in Persona 5. Persona 5 was my introduction to the Persona series, and I fell in absolute love. If you've seen any of my favorite video game videos, it's probably in there. And by probably, I mean I know for a fact it's in there. The question is it posted yet? A manga retelling of the hit Persona 5 video game. I have heard the anime doesn't make a lot of sense if you haven't played the game. I haven't gotten to watch it yet, but I can imagine that it's pretty hard to follow because the missions you're doing are pretty important to the overall story. So only using the cutscenes and maybe adding in some more scenes is, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it'll be. I mean, I'll definitely understand it. It's just, I don't know if you haven't played it. I don't know if you would understand it. But if you have, I'm sure you would. Alright, let's see. After being arrested and having to transfer to a new high school in Tokyo, Akira Kurusu is given the goal of rehabilitation and awakened to a new power, the power of one's true self, a persona. Using his persona and the mysterious navigation app Mementos, Akira and his friends take on the role of phantom thieves, saving people from the twisted desires of those around them. Oh, we get a second summary. Akira thought he was doing the right thing when he rescued a woman who was being attacked. Expelled from his school and sent away from home, he is re-enrolled in the Shujin Academy on probation. Trouble finds him again on his first day when he comes across delinquent Ryuji Sakamoto, and the two somehow stumble into a castle in an alternate reality. Caught by the castle's king, the school teacher Kamoshida. If you know, you know. Akira discovers his will to rebel and awaken the power of his persona. This sounds like it's going to be a super sick read. I love the game so much. So, of course, I'm going to read the manga and I'm going to watch the show. But, for reference, if you were wondering who Akira Kurusu is, that is Joker. So every time I said Akira, that's just Joker. And Ryuji is that rascal. Alright. Those are the 5 books. And this next thing is big. And I mean big. So, let me just say, I won't spend a lot of time on it. But the implications of the video that I can do with this very soon, in fact, I have plans for it, are big. So, let me grab it. Just stay there. Oh yeah, I gotta share the camera space. I had to move over like a whole 60 feet just to show this. Look at this. We've got Star-Lord. We've got Drax. We've got Nebula, Mantis, and Harry Styles. I mean Adam Warlock. And this is the new Guardians ship, which I'm looking forward to seeing the movie to see why it's this color specifically. But this is a 1,108 piece Lego set that we will be getting into. Put 2 and 2 together. Of when. Wink, wink. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but Lego Marvel. I keep forgetting I have nails right now. Lego Marvel is making its first appearance. I have so far done Avatar and Star Wars. And first up on that docket is Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail Volume 1. Now, if you haven't heard of Fairy Tail, it is one of the more popular animes out there. I started watching it not too long ago. It is about this young gentleman and this young gentleman, aka let me just. Alright, so right here we've got Natsu. We've got Lucy Heartphilia. It's crazy how I remember the girl, right? And host, can we attribute the cat? I know it's so. As soon as I said happy, didn't even need to see it, it's happy. Like Gilmore, like the Spider-Man one, Jon Favreau. Fairy Tail is a very fun series. It's been a while since I've watched it. I've got an on and off relationship with anime as a whole, but especially Fairy Tail. I watched the whole first season, binged through it, and it's like a long season. It has over 50 episodes. And then the second season, I binged like the first quarter of it a year after I binged the first season. And I have not gone back to it since. I really need to catch up. I really wish there was just something out there where it's like, here's where you left off. Maybe there's something there. Anyway, the wicked side of wizardry. I know a lot of my friends know this, but if I was to ever get a tattoo, I would love for it to be a fairy tale tattoo. Anyway, let's read this summary. Cute girl wizard Lucy wants to join the Fairy Tale, a club for the most powerful wizards, but instead her ambitions land her in the clutches of a gang of an unsavory pirates led by a devious magician. Her only hope is Natsu, a strange boy she happens to meet on her travels. Natsu's not your typical hero. He gets motion sickness, eats like a pig, and his best friend is a talking cat. Happy. With friends like this, is Lucy better off with her enemies? Wow. And there's the little fairy tale insignia that if I ever got a tattoo, it would definitely be that. But I absolutely hate needles, so no thank you. Next, we've got Fairy Tale Volume 2. Here we've got Natsu in the corner pouting a little bit. We've got Lucy looking like she's been on a shopping spree. And Happy, who is big time into Lucy. The Book of Secrets, okay. Beautiful celestial wizard Lucy has teamed up with the crazy fire wizard Natsu and his bizarre flying cat Happy. Their job to steal a book from the notorious Duke Everlew. But the eccentric Everlew has killed wizards before, and Lucy's team is walking right into his death trap. This is by Hiro Makishima. Hiro Makishima. That's Fairytail. I don't know how I started to lag behind, but we got through it. I'm really excited to get into these two books, and I'm extremely excited that they had both issue 1 and 2. If you're into manga, you'll know that sometimes it is very hard to get like all the issues at one time. Like one of the issues I'm having right now is I could find Persona 5 Volume 1 at Barnes & Noble. I could find Volume 1 of Persona 3. But I can't find Persona 4 Volume 1 is not there, which means I have to order it online. It's not hard to get it, it's just sometimes you like to just go into the store and get in the whole atmosphere, you know? There's just something different about walking into a Barnes & Noble. Anyway, we got on to Ruby. one of my most anticipated watches in the anime genre. RUBY is an acronym that stands for red, white, blue. I feel like red, white, black, yellow. I knew as soon as I said blue it was wrong. And right here we've got Ruby. And on the back we've got Weiss, Blake, and let me try to figure this out. Whomst is yellow? Ruby, Weiss, Blake, and Yang. There we go. There's always something so cool about seeing anime like that, just like that little bend, and then you see all the art going down. Ruby, Weiss, Blake, and Yang are students at Beacon Academy learning to protect the world of Remnant from the fearsome Grimm. I own most of the seasons to this show. There's actually like a season 1 through 5 edition that I got, and then I bought 6, and I think I still have to get 7 and 8, but first I have to get more watch hours into it before I go buying that. Okay, next we get to American manga, and how do I know that? Because it's reading left to right. And this is STARWARS, Star Wars. The Legend of Luke Skywalker, the manga. Luke Skywalker, question mark. I thought he was a myth. Ray. Who is Luke Skywalker? Across the galaxies, many have heard his name, but few have met the legendary Jedi. There are those who call him a merciless war criminal. Others say he's not even a human, but a droid. Whether he's a man or myth, all those who claim they've encountered the elusive Skywalker have an unforgettable adventure to share. Let's look at the names. Akira Fukuyama. Whoa. Akira Fukaya. Got ahead of myself there. Takashi Kisaki. And those are the writers and artists, I believe, for the Starship Graveyard. I Droid by Haruchi. Butchered that one. The Tale of Lugubrious Mott by Saburo Arasaka. That's a cyberpunk flashback right there, hardcore. And Big Inside by Akira Himekawa. I had you in the first half, not gonna lie. It is definitely weird to see this and then see this. Because this is reading right to left, this is reading left to right. And just look how weird that is. I have to flip it around and go like that. Always strange. Now, we get into our book. The High Republic is the fresh start Star Wars has been waiting for. Cinema blend. This here is Star Wars, the High Republic, Path of Vengeance by Gavin Scott. Scotty. Alright, let's read this back a little, then we'll get into the summary. 1 hour, she said, thrusting the weapon back into Marta's hands. We'll meet in the secondary hold. You need to prepare for every environment. Nights are dark on Jeddah. It's the moon of light. It's a moon filled with pilgrims who won't take kindly to what you have to say. Not we. You. What about the chowder? Yana turned and stalked from the chapel with that. I gotta stop there, hold on. That's big facts. What about the chowder? Yana turned and stalked from the chapel without looking back. Maybe later. Marta knew she didn't mean it, even as the door switched shut and she was left alone. No, not alone. Not anymore. She'll see, Marta said aloud. She'll see how wrong she is. Jeddah will listen. They will all see the truth. They will see the truth, Femo repeated, standing behind her. His once vibrant skin was now chalky and white, his voice like gravel crunched underfoot. The Force will be free. The Force will be free, Marta agreed. Sounds very interesting, especially since Yana up here says, what about the chowder? That is vital to all of us. What about? Alright, let's read the summary real quick. That was just like a little excerpt from the book. Cousins Marta and Yana Rowe both belong to the Path of the Open Hand. Oh, no, but could not be more different. The path, led by a charismatic woman called the Mother, believes the Force must not be used anymore, especially the Jedi. Marta embraces the Path's vision, while Yana remains skeptical, and when a Path mission to the pilgrim moon of Jeddah erupts in violence, the two cousins find themselves more at odds than ever before. Blaming the Jedi for the devastation on Jeddah and determined to prove she deserves her place in the Path, Marta joins a perilous expedition to the fabled Planet X in search of more mysterious creatures like the Leveler to use against the Jedi. The planet appears to be a paradise but hides horrors beneath the surface. Alright, Yana, for her part, finds herself forming an alliance with the last person she would ever have guessed, the Herald, the father of Yana's dead lover. The two will have to gradually work together in order to wrest the Path from the Mother's hands. Two young women at the heart of the Path, bound by blood but driven apart by faith, will face a crossroads where they choose not only their own fates, but that of the galaxies. I got really into that. Alright. We have one last book, and I saved the biggest book for last. And it's actually still wrapped up. It's very heavy, I would say crisp 10 pounds minimum. And that is Star Wars Rise of the Sith. And right there you can see how thick it actually is. Star Wars Rise of the Sith by Marvel. And this is an omnibus, which basically means there's a bunch of comics inside this that all follow the rise of the Sith. Shadows falls across the galaxy. Centuries of peace and prosperity for the Republic are drawing to a close as the Jedi Knights are shaken by a disturbance in the Force. A great evil is stirring and nothing will ever be the same. Iconic characters such as Jedi Masters Mace Windu, Yoda, and Qui-Gon Jinn, young Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi, the teenage Queen Padme Amidala, the lethal warrior Darth Maul, and a young boy named Anakin Skywalker. Star in tales set in a pivotal era of Star Wars, climaxing with the shocking events of the Phantom Menace. I, for one, am super excited to get into this. This was not cheap, but luckily they had a really good sale on it. I still almost didn't get it because of the price, but I figured I had to. So we're gonna start. Where are we gonna start? Where should we start? I'm gonna ask you. We'll start right here. So right here. We start with The Last Jedi. That comes with over 2 hours of bonus content through Voodoo. Now, I'm not gonna say I hate this movie, but I'm not gonna say it was my favorite ever. It's down there, but I mean, when you rank Star Wars, you're basically ranking Star Wars to Star Wars. You can't really rank it against anything when you're as big of a fan as I'm sure me and you are, so it's definitely down there, but it's not the worst. Alright, The Force Awakens, Blu-ray, DVD, and digital, and it comes with all new bonus deleted scenes and revealed plus secrets of The Force Awakens. This comes with a few bonus, such as Secrets of The Force Awakens, a cinematic journey. The Story Awakens, the table read. Building BB-8, crafting creatures. Blueprints of a battle, the snow fight. John Williams, the Seventh Symphony. ILM, the visual magic of the Force, plus deleted scenes. So, I actually really liked The Force Awakens. I honestly think it was a good homage to the originals. I will be the first to admit it seems kind of like the same movie as A New Hope. It's got its own little spins, but overall I kind of think it's very similar. Now we get into the first solo movie, no pun intended. The best Star Wars yet. I don't know about that, okay? It's a very good movie, but the best, no, but it is a very good movie. I barely remember seeing a lot of these in theaters. For the ones I did see, I do remember Solo, and I remember the vibe being quite positive, but because of the Last Jedi, we were all kind of mad, and a lot of us boycotted the next movie in Solo. Remember #boycott Solo? We're not going to bring it up. We're not going to. But Solo was a very good movie. Rogue One has one of the most badass lightsaber duels in the franchise's history. Not the most, but it's certainly top 3 minimum. Alright. Now for Solo. With one of my favorite actresses in... Wow, I'm immediately blanking on her name. She plays Kira. And let's see what we can get here. She played Daenerys in Amelia Clark. You saw that firsthand, that I was able to figure that out. Amelia Clark plays a really good Star Wars character. And I think if we would honestly get Solo 2, I think all of us would be in the theaters for it, because Darth Maul was about to come back in whatever sequel came with this. because this alone was about Han Solo, but it seemed like it was about to pop off. Alright, I'm gonna save these next two and bring us to the Clone Wars movie, Now, I've got a fun little story here. I went to one of the conventions here on the East Coast, and I got to meet the guy who voices Anakin Skywalker. I believe his name is Matthew Stover. I could be wrong. But he asked me, what's your favorite Clone Wars moment, like storyline, basically? And I'm like, oh, there's so many good ones. Like, there's Domino Squad, and then there's... yeah, that's probably actually my favorite. But I was like, one of the more underrated movies storylines was this movie where we got to finally meet Ahsoka Tano. I say finally, but it was like, that's where she was introduced. And it was a very good movie for me. I know a lot of people don't agree about that, but the funny thing about that story is Matt actually said he thinks that this is going to be a lot like The Phantom Menace, where people come around to it and realize, like, it's beauty. And I'm like, all right, that's kind of deep. And I actually really liked that answer. It was really cool to hear, you know, one of the voice actors be like, oh yeah, I actually really enjoyed the movie myself. He didn't directly say that, but he did say that this movie is very underrated. Paraphrasing. Alright, we get into a special. You're going to be seeing some VHSs here. I didn't ever stop at the DVDs. Alright, the biggest box office hit in history, Star Wars. As you can see right there, it says Star Wars. Star Wars. This was the Hi-Fi CBS Fox edition of Star Wars. This was the first VHS after the movie was changed to be called A New Hope. And this edition's actually really cool. I like to collect the editions because then I can kind of see what it started like and what it's looking like right now. And it's always a very cool experience to see, especially with something like this that goes back so far. Let's see if we can get a year here real quick. 1984. So Return of the Jedi came out in 1980. And these are the VHSs that came out in 84. Speaking of 1984, we're skipping the middle movie. You know, we're not going to skip Empire. Let's see. There's actually a sticker over this, but I'm going to assume it's 1985. We have the CBS Fox version of The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back. Getting these was actually really cool. Like, I was looking for the first edition of all the Star Wars movies out there. Now, I wasn't about to buy 35mm or 8mm or Laserdisc, but these are the earliest versions I did find. And I thought they were very cool. Very cool. Seeing some of just the differences in these movies versus watching like the Disney Plus version today, which is the most up-to-date one, it's pretty cool. We move on to our final VHS of this CBS series, and it is Return of the Jedi. The Empire is brought to its knees. It's hard to rank Star Wars movies. I would say for me it's Empire, and then Revenge, and then it's between this and Attack of the Clones for me, but Attack of the Clones is a very personal movie for me, so that's why it ranks so high. Very good love story. However, if I was just basing this off of what people enjoy, I would say for most people it's either Empire or Revenge of the Sith, and then it goes Return of the Jedi. It is a fantastic Star Wars movie. Alright, moving on. We've got a mildly banged up Episode 1 Collector's Edition. The Phantom Menace. The Phantom Menace. The Phantom Menace. As you can see, it comes with a little movie strip. It comes with a movie strip, a book, and the movie itself. I started collecting a few of these a while back because honestly I had this cool idea. I'm like, I'm gonna get all of these collector's editions and eventually put together the 35mm it was shot on. I stopped doing that. That is an expensive endeavor. But these are always very cool to look into. I'm gonna actually open it up. This is one reason why it's so cool. Check that out. There's Naboo. There is Naboo. Alright, now to finagle a little bit. Let's see, what scene is this? Can I see? This 35mm is from the final scene in The Phantom Menace, where Anakin is looking up at Obi-Wan. And there's the whole Naboo celebration thing where Padme gives Boss Nass that orb. And that's basically it. That's what that is. We've got the art of Episode 1 with Jar Jar Binks on the back. Let's just flip to a random page. We've got the underwater villages right here, and the bongo on the left side, leaving with Jar Jar, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon. This is actually a really cool book, which is interesting. I just saw something. That is a character I would have never thought I would see in Episode 1. That is a Night Sister. Not just any Night Sister, that's the mother of the Night Sisters. So, maybe I should start looking into these, jeez. Because if the Night Sisters were being, like, talked about for Episode 1, like, what else did they have that I haven't seen before? I've got to say, I've never been a big fan of the art of books. I buy them because I'm a huge Star Wars collector, but I've never, like, looked into them. But now seeing that, it's like I almost have to now. I almost have to. Alright. You know what? I'm reaching over things. Let's do this. Yeah, no, I'm gonna reach over things. We're not gonna do that. Here we have my first ever Star Wars trilogy, or it'll turn out to be the saga. And to be fair, for those of you wondering, why does it look so, like, weird like that? These actually usually go into each other. However, I didn't know that when I was a kid, and I'm not going to stop it now. Now, these, I believe, are the full screen versions. The full screen versions of these movies. As you can see right there, it says Star Wars Trilogy. And on the back, it says, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And on this back, you get the Millennium Falcon. these have an amazing story. I used to watch Star Wars all the time. Like, I would watch the movie on a separate, like, I had a laptop that I would sit off to the side of my main, like, gaming console, and I would just click start it, and then once it was over, I just replay it. And I replayed the heck out of these things. On long car trips, we used to take like several hour trips constantly, like at least 4 times a year, where it was like over 8 hours, probably closer to 9, 10. I watched these religiously. So much so that the Attack of the Clones disc actually started to get very damaged. It was very upsetting. It was this one. That's how you know it was my favorite. This was the only one that got so messed up that it would not play. It would skip around all over the place. This is my favorite part about this version, is the disc art. The disc art on these was so cool. Whoa. But the great thing about these is, one, I don't know what you just saw, but don't believe your eyes. Probably gonna have to edit that down, but if you did see the disc itself, you're probably like, how does that not work? Not too long ago, I ran into a shop that will actually clean up your discs for like $3 a piece. And I walked in and I'm like, I would like all of these done. And they're like, you know, it's $3 a piece, right? And I'm like, yeah, but these are like my first ever Star Wars discs. And they're like, you know what? We'll give you a discount. So I ended up paying $2 to clean this entire set right here. Minus, however, the very eye-catching piece that you may have goggled. This puppy is not easy to find. This is the thing that George Lucas absolutely hates. The Christmas special. And let me just tell you, I wasn't a fan. I tried to watch it. I still need to try to finish it. But Wookiees on Kashyyyk for basically Christmas or Life Day is what they call it. Speaking Wookieese without subtitles. Who thought of that? Who thought of that? It's such a beautiful disaster of a movie. Alright, so we've gone through some things that finally allow me to show you these two. Now, like I said, the ones I just showed you started running out. Like, they were skipping around all the time, and I was a kid, I didn't have money to buy new ones. And disc scratchers were basically something everybody owned back then, but like none of them worked that well. The one I had them use was actually a professional grade one. Now, I am very grateful for these. I asked my parents, I'm like, can we please give me a new set of Star Wars, because mine are literally stopping, like they're not working. And they're like, well, maybe if you ask it for Christmas. And I'm like, that's like several months away. But eventually I did get these. It's the Blu-ray and the DVD. The only problem I have with them, and that's why I really love the last ones I showed you, is these ones are, let me just show you this. They're very basic. There's no like art on the disc. There's no art on the disc. And the art on the disc was one of my favorite parts. That's why I chose to watch Attack of the Clones so much. And then after Attack of the Clones, I would watch the other two prequel movies, The Phantom Menace and Revenge. Usually it would go like that, unless if I just watched Attack of the Clones a couple times. But moving on to the weird things in my collection. Trilogy, Star Wars, Trilogy Dis Episodes de Star Wars Prequel Trilogy. And if you're wondering why that doesn't sound like English, it's because it isn't. It is French. Scotty, why do you have... It's because I ordered these two together. Because this is very hard to find. And the price this was going for everywhere else was the same price that I got these two together. Would I like to get an English copy of both of them someday? Yes. I actually have the English copy of this one, but I'm very happy that I was able to snag these because this one is like $40 or $60. It's like something crazy. Way more than it should be. But can't change that fact. Alright. Now we've got the Star Wars Complete Saga. What year do we have here? This is probably 2015. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. And the date is what I can't see. Here we go. Alright, I cannot see it. But I started buying these. Let me just show you over here. This is the Complete Saga, and this is the Complete Saga. I found this at that same store I got my discs cleaned. And I was like, well, I kind of have to because I don't have this one. And it's really cool because you see Anakin walking towards you and Luke walking away from you. And on the back here, there's a little bit of damage, but I'm not Bill Gates. But I am a proud collector, so I've got these two versions. The reason I buy so many, for one, is I want to have all the versions. One, if they change anything. Two, to see the changes. And three, in case I'm missing any bonus content. Honestly, that is the number one reason why. Alright. Way past due, but it was at the bottom of the pile. Is Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. This is the 4K edition. There's very few 4K movies I buy, but when this came out, I was like, I have to start buying Star Wars in 4K. It's literally my favorite franchise, and now that 4K is becoming like a big thing, I've got to start. So I didn't mind The Rise of Skywalker. It wasn't like groundbreaking as I move stuff around. It wasn't groundbreaking or anything. It wasn't like the greatest thing I've ever seen. But it was just a pretty good Star Wars movie. There was a little bit of lightsaber play. That's always my favorite, is when shows and movies have lightsabers, because that's like my favorite part of all of that. I'm going so out of order right now. So I've got a big ticket item. Alright, I really want to show you, but it's like the big ticket item. So let's just reach over here and grab this. This is the widescreen edition. I believe they came out alongside these ones. I didn't realize until very recently that the ones that I watched all the time as a kid were full screen. it made me actually realize the difference between full and widescreen officially. Like, it was very clear when the picture didn't take up the whole screen, but like for a while there, like I only needed full screen because that's what was kind of the standard when I was a kid. But this little silver trinket is kind of like a beautiful version of these. Alright. We are getting into the shows. Let me not drop this on the mic. This is Star Wars Rebels Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, and Season 4, just making sure that wasn't completely backwards. So, I haven't watched all of Rebels yet. Season 4 is the main thing I haven't seen. I haven't seen about half of Season 3, but it is a very, very good show. The reason I haven't finished it is when I was watching it, I was going to the gym all the time, so I just got used to watching it while I work out, and I haven't like worked out at a gym for a while. I started just doing it at home. But I'm gonna sit these over here. And we've got another Clone Wars movie, because I was getting very scared that it wasn't, like, I was getting scared that if my copy died, because it was one of my favorite movies as like a kid when I couldn't watch the Clone Wars show because we didn't have that channel. So I just had this, and it was one of my favorite movies, so I bought a second copy more recently, to be fair, but just to be sure that when it does die eventually, I still have a copy. I was also having this problem where all the shows I really liked on Netflix were moving away, and I'm like, I really want to get these before that becomes a problem. Disney Plus wasn't even out at this point. How I Met Your Mother was just leaving Netflix, and nobody knew where it was going to go. But here we've got the most wild season in the Clone Wars history. Not because, I mean, it's a very good season, but that is Season 6 for those of you that don't know. The reason I say that it's wild is because it's called the Lost Missions. And that is because the show was canceled before Season 6 ended. So it was pretty much canceled right in the middle. And so we didn't get to see all of Season 6, which is why it was such a big deal when Season 7 came back around. Alright, one of the few Star Wars Lego movies I actually own in person. I like to get thrifty a lot, so I go to the thrift store on like 20% off days, and if I find stuff like that, I will buy it, obviously. And I do that just because, once again, I am a collector of Star Wars. If you're wondering what just happened, I've got to like maneuver a lot, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff in front of me, but I wouldn't give it up. You can see right here, this is seasons 1 through 5 of the Clone Wars. Once again, I bought this because I thought it was like, it was going off of Netflix at the time. Yeah, that really dates it. And I wanted to buy it because I didn't know where or when Disney Plus would be up at that time. And there was this very nice lady that met me, and she sold me this Season 6 or the Lost Missions, and then a bunch of Batman animated stuff for like, I think it was like $25. I'm like, yep, sign me up. $25, yes, please. But now I want to show you the most token item that I have for Star Wars versions. This was very expensive, and I bought it right when it came out. is the Star Wars 4K, the Skywalker Saga. This is the 4K edition that came out back in, I believe, 2020 or 2021. Some time around that whole debacle, with the entire world. This is such a cool box. Now, I haven't really watched the discs per se on this, but it is awesome. So, I upgraded all my versions to the 4K version with this because I got codes for them all, and I'm like, I don't really know what to do with these. Do I give them away? But then I'm like, oh, these are 4K. They're better versions of the movies I have. So I ended up keeping them and using them. I haven't watched the 4K editions, to be fair. I haven't watched most of them on streaming services, but I did watch Solo and Rogue One are the two I've seen in 4K, not in theaters, if theaters are running 4K at this point. Perhaps I saw the sequel trilogy in 4K. I'm not too savvy on that, but I don't know. Today's video is TV show collections, and these are some of my favorite. We're starting with, and you've probably picked up on this already because you are awesome, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the complete series. Let's just read this summary for a minute. Avatar: The Last Airbender, the complete series. Go back to the beginning to experience the epic saga of Avatar: The Last Airbender again with the complete collection. From the discovery of Avatar Aang in the frozen iceberg to the mastery of all four elements, from the battle at Ba Sing Se to the final showdown with the Fire Nation, your destiny awakes as you relive all the powerful bending that blew you away once more. And on the back here, we've got Aang as a earthbender. Here we've got him as a waterbender, still in his airbender attire. And over here we've got the final stage of Aang, which is fire. Now, as you can see here, it says water, earth, and fire. He already knew airbending. He was taught that at the Southern Air Temple by, according to the movie, Monkeyatsu. Let's look at this because this is a pretty iconic way to begin a summary. After disappearing for 100 years, Aang has returned to face his destiny as Avatar, and just in the nick of time as the four nations are at war and the Fire Nation is threatening to take over. Only the Avatar can restore balance, but first he, along with his friends Katara and Sokka, must begin his journey to master the four elements. If that doesn't get you hype, I don't know what does. You know what? To be fair, it's not everybody's cup of tea. A lot of people see it as a cartoon, which to those people I just implore you to watch the show and you will find out that the story is just the same as in a live action. You will find yourself crying, getting excited, all of the spectrum of emotions, maybe some scared, some fear for Aang here, for Katara, for Sokka. It could all come to you with cartoons, anime, all of it. It's always good to give art a chance. If you're willing to go stand in a museum and look at paintings, you can do the same thing with cartoons because they're not just for kids. I, as a former animator, can tell you that for a fact. Of course, we are all kids at heart. It's just people who like cartoons let the child play a little more. Next, my favorite sitcom. I'm probably not in the majority there, but How I Met Your Mother. The complete series. Here we've got Lily, Marshall, Ted, Robin, Sparkles, and Barney. The absolute legend, wait for it, legendary man himself. Alright, so suit up for all 9 legendary seasons of the slap-happy show that took TV comedy to hilarious new heights. Join Barney, Robin, Marshall, Lily, and their romantically challenged best friend Ted for more than 200 truly awesome episodes. Relive all the inside jokes, crazy time jumps, never saw that coming plot twists, and classic long-running gags from the bro code to the doppelganger to Robin Sparkles to the infamous slap bet between Marshall and Barney. Oh boy, that slap bet is all over my mind. This pineapple, I can't quite remember what the episode was about, but the pineapple just showed up out of nowhere. And I've got to say, my favorite episode of the series has to be season 4, episode 2, because that is all about this best burger in New York, and they're chasing it and chasing it and chasing it, and once all hope is lost, they get a trail. They've been searching and searching and searching. I think the message is really good for it. It's basically Marshall wanted this burger one last time before he gave in to the evil empire or the dark side. I remember watching this as a kid. I would watch season 2 so much because that is the only one I owned at the time. So I would just watch season 2 again and again and again and again. But I never saw season 1, so I never quite knew why it was such a big deal that Lily was coming back from San Francisco. And in the end, it was still a fantastic season. But I did get to watch it many times. For a long time, I actually watched the complete series all the way through, repeated it, watched it all the way through, repeated it. I would go to sleep to the episodes. I'm not sure if you have a show that you do that with, but I would do that with this show after a while. And yeah, it was... Let's clarify something. I said it's my favorite comedy show. I have seen The Office, and that is why I said it was my favorite. And it might be more recency bias, I'm not sure, but The Office is like this cute, quirky thing, while How I Met Your Mother is a similar tone, but not the exact same tone. So, no matter what, it is a fantastic show. Next up, for you 90s kids, for you 2000s kids, this one should spark quite a few memories if you watched Nickelodeon before SpongeBob. These were the children that occupied all of our time. The Rugrats, the S complete series once again. Let's read the back, shall we? This must be your lucky day. The whole world is a big adventure waiting to be explored with all 9 seasons of Rugrats, the classic Nickelodeon TV show in a 26-disc complete series collection. Tommy, Chucky, Angelica, Phil, Lil, and Susie find themselves in a slew of adventures, both real and imaginary. Boldly go where no baby's ever gone before as the Rugrats turn the ordinary into the extraordinary every day. Wait a minute, Mr. Postman. The back does not include our girl Kimmy right here. Had no mention of her. But let's go through this here. Go through the roster. Angelica, the bratty child, the 5-year-old that was playing with 1 and 2-year-olds. Susie, I believe her and Angelica were meant to be closer in age. We've got Kimmy right here in the middle. We've got Chucky, and they are step-siblings. Chucky's dad married Kimmy's mom. We've got Tommy, Dill, Phil, and Lil. I've got to say, the movies were fantastic. Seeing the whole progression of Tommy having all this responsibility just dumped on his lap at the ripe age of like 1.5 years old. He's got to now share his parents, but his parents are giving all their time to his little brother now, and he just feels like the black sheep of the family. And it's actually quite a sad movie at first, but it does get better. Tommy does learn responsibility, or like he says in the movie, sponsibility. I've got to say, on the back here, a couple words were tripping me up because they had a couple apostrophes in them. Waiting to be explored is exactly how that's spelled. Waiting to be explored. Alright, now let's get into the next age range, I guess you could say, in Star Wars Clone Wars. And if you've been around for a while, you've probably seen me ranting and raving on other videos about how much I enjoy this show. This right here is season 1 through 5. I have the lost stories, but I don't believe I have them right here with me, but it's all good. Everything is okay. And because there is no summary, let's just go through really quick. Starting with the movie, Ahsoka Tano is apparently not Obi-Wan's apprentice. Obi-Wan signs Anakin up to have an apprentice of his own, even though he's not fully ready for it. But by the end of the movie, you can see a definite shift. It's really more halfway. He kind of starts seeing her as a friend, someone to challenge him. And as they chase after Jabba's son, they find themselves getting along more and more because they are very similar people. Next, we've got the actual show. I remember the first episode so clearly because I've seen it so many times. It's all about our boy Yoda here, and he's going to negotiate peace. I can't remember with who, but basically him and this small batch of clones is making their way across the planet because their ship had crashed, and one wave after another wave after another wave the Separatists are sending everything they have at Yoda, and he just keeps prevailing until he finally gets to the leader of the planet, and they start to negotiate. Here, we're going to go over the characters now. We've got Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, Rex, Cody, I believe this is Echo, this I think is Fives, and I cannot myself point out any others, but we move to this side with C-3PO, R2-D2. On this side, the illustrious Cad Bane. And finally, we get to the dark side of the case, the back side. We've got Pre Vizsla. We've got Darth Maul, Darth Sidious, Asajj Ventress, Count Dooku, General Grievous, and that is all. Anyway, let's move on. Next, we're going to go back to some comedy with American Dad. Now, pretty much everything Seth MacFarlane does, I very much enjoy. He's just got this, like, funny, stupid comedy style that's just kind of dumb, but, like, he knows where the pauses really should be, and sometimes he keeps that pause just past the point of comfortability, and a lot of people see it as stupid, but I see it as a reason to laugh. Here we got our guy, Stan Smith, CIA agent, and let's see what this has to say. From the delightfully twisted creative minds behind Family Guy comes American Dad, the animated tour de force featuring CIA operative Stan Smith, his outrageous family, and Roger, the alcoholic extraterrestrial who lives with them. Follow the adventure of the Smiths from the California desert, where Stan's wife Francine relives her teenage years at the Burning Man Festival, to Saudi Arabia, where the entire family is sentenced to death by the Vice and Virtue Police. Whether it's raking elections, big difference there, erasing memories, casing sleazy strip clubs, or staging bum fights, it's all in a day's work for Stan, and it's all here in the side-spittingly hilarious first season of American Dad. This is another show that I watched religiously when I was young. I absolutely loved American Dad. We didn't have cable, so when I found this at a Sam's Club for $10, I was like, I'm going to spend my allowance on this, and I'm going to get it. And basically what happened was I got Volume 1 and Volume 4 a few weeks later, and that was all I could ever find. So it was several years before I got to see the rest of it, back when it was on Netflix. And just going over the characters, we've got Roger, Francine, Stan, I'm blanking Steve, and Haley. Quick recovery there. Alright, I'm gonna save the controversial one for last. And continue with Smallville. Smallville is one of those things that was just kind of always on TV, or at least cable network. Cable TV? One of those. Whatever you call this stuff on the... I'm blanking on that too. Antenna. antenna, I would see excerpts bit by bit of Smallville. And I really enjoyed it, but I never got to watch the full series. And this is the first one that I actually have not watched all the way through, purely because of time, but I did really enjoy the first few seasons for what I've seen. When it starts to get into the 5 to 7 plus seasons, it gets very hard for me to stay with a show, because at that point, probably 6 other shows, let's say that's generous, probably a good 20-25 shows have come out that I also then have to keep up with. So it gets very difficult. But this show is the reason that I really care about Superman as a whole. I've never been a big DC fan. I've never been like this huge Superman fan. But this version of Clark Kent showed so much humanity, and it was really well done. And yeah, they had 9 seasons to flesh it out, so, or more. I'm not 100% sure. Let's read the summary real quick. Superman's roots grow deeper in Season 2 of Smallville. This 6-disc collection includes all 23 episodes plus bonus material worthy of a superhero. This year finds Clark Kent grappling with his calling as he explores his true origins. Was he sent to Earth to save humanity or destroy it? Lana and Clark grow closer than ever before. Lex gets married. Lionel lures Chloe toward the dark side. Martha and Jonathan Kent receive miraculous news, and Pete becomes a keeper of Clark's secret. One thing we can't keep secret, the legend grows stronger in Smallville. Not bad at all. I'm not even 100% sure where it's streaming at this point, but it's somewhere. It's definitely somewhere. Finally, we get to our hottest take of the video. In Game of Thrones. Now, let me tell you why I really enjoyed Game of Thrones. It is because I waited until all 8 seasons were out and finished. I literally just binge watched the show. I didn't finish it the first time though. The first time I got super pissed off because of the Red Wedding, because Robb Stark was my guy. I had 3 people I really cared about: Jon Snow, Daenerys Targaryen, and Robb Stark. Robb Stark had the most screen time, so he's the one I had the biggest attachment to at this point. And then just to see him go out like that, oof, irritated me. I stopped watching Game of Thrones for 2 years. And then after the 2 years, I went back, rewatched everything I had watched before, season 1 to season 8. And let me tell you, if you waited all 12, 15 years to see that season 8, I understand why you're upset. And you're 100% valid. I didn't think it was that bad because I didn't have to wait. If you were a loyal fan all the way through, I understand. I can see where you're coming from. But this here is the complete 3rd season. So, nothing controversial there. Most people I talk to usually say, as long as you're in 1 through 4, you're in Golden Game of Thrones. But I don't. You know what? Let's read it. These last 2 have had kind of long summaries, so you can see right there. In the third season of the hit HBO drama series Game of Thrones, the Lannisters barely hold on to the throne after a savage naval onslaught from Stannis Baratheon. While stirrings in the north threaten to alter the overall balance of power, Robb Stark, King of the North, faces major calamity in his efforts to build on his victories over the Lannisters while beyond the wall. Manta Raider and his huge army of wildlings continue their inexorable march south. Across the narrow sea, Daenerys Targaryen, reunited with her 3 fast-maturing dragons, attempts to raise an army to sail with her from Essos, in hopes of eventually claiming the Iron Throne. In Season 3 of the original series based on George R.R. Martin's best-selling books, the battling families of Westeros continue to clash as bonds are strained, loyalties are tested, and cruel fates are met. And just looking back here, we've got Daenerys Targaryen, we've got Robb Stark, we've got Jon Snow, Cersei Lannister, Jaime Lannister, and I can't believe I'm forgetting this character. Ain't no way. He's literally the most important dude on that battlefield. His last name is Lannister, I can tell you that. I really, really like watching movies in 3D. I have a very wide collection that spans from Avengers all the way to World War Z, almost quite literally spanning the alphabet right there. And it is one of my favorite mediums. Honestly, I'm very, very excited for the Apple Vision Pro that's coming out, just because I heard that Disney is going to be releasing their 3D movies onto that platform. Now, the $3,500 makes me question it a little bit, because that's a lot of saving of money. But to start, I want to share with you my most recent obsession that I'm sure if you've been around the channel, you'll know. I have been obsessed with Avatar 2: The Way of Water. And actually, I promised a giveaway of this movie's code. So to the lucky person that sees that and puts it in first, good on you, my friend. Alright, so if Avatar has always been one of my favorite all-time movies, and the 3D version is so much cooler. I'll watch the 2D most of the time, but this is one of the very few movies I will sit in PSVR and actually watch. That thing gets very heavy, it gets very hot. You need a very cool room for it if you're going to watch a movie like this, and a very comfortable chair to sit in. But the Avatar movies, I find, are very worth it. James Cameron does something amazing with these movies, and it's something that has not been matched ever. He literally revives 3D movies every time he puts out an Avatar movie, and hopefully that continues with the upcoming 3 movies. But next up, I see Pirates of the Caribbean. This is Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. Now, this one's a little more underrated as a movie. Sometimes I haven't seen all of the 3D movies, so I can only speak on the movies themselves, but I really do think On Stranger Tides is an underrated movie. It's not all about Jack Sparrow and the crew. That's probably where people kind of lose a little bit of interest, and it's really a standalone. However, I do like the characters. I think it took a really fun direction. I don't think a lot of people like the direction, but I really enjoyed it. And that is one of the very few movies I actually have of Pirates of the Caribbean in 3D. And I swear one of these days I gotta do a alphabetizing 3D movies. But today is not that day. So next up, we've got Captain America, Civil War. We've got Tony Stark, Iron Man, Steve Rogers, Captain America, and we'll go Winter Soldier, Bucky, Hawkeye, Miss WandaVision herself, Falcon, Don Cheadle, Vision, Wakanda Forever, Chadwick Boseman, and we've got Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow right there. I feel like these are very fun in 3D if they've done them right. Once again, the only person I full on trust with 3D movies is James Cameron, because he uses 3D cameras and all this like expensive tech. There's a reason that it's very expensive for these Avatar movies, and it had to break like $2 billion to break even on all the expenses they had up to that point. I don't think that was all spent on one movie though. I think that was spread out over the 5 movies, paying the actors, paying the crew, stuff like that. Continuing on in the Marvel sect, we've got Marvel's Avengers Age of Ultron, the second Avengers movie, where I believe we got our first look at Vision. Yes, we did. In the movies. And he has been an absolute delight ever since he got in. We've got Samuel Jackson as Director Fury, Hawkeye, Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and Black Widow. We're going to put that with Civil War for now and go over to the dark side in DC's Batman vs. Superman 3D movie. Again, superhero movies, honestly, they could be the best 3D movies out there. Any movie could make $2 billion, honestly, if they did what James Cameron did with making just the whole movie feel just super realistic, adding depth, not doing that cheap 3D thing where they just kind of blur out the background a little bit so the character stands out a little more. Stop that. Stop that for real. But I was going to say let's go back to Marvel, but I see one of the most legendary DC movies of all time in Green Lantern 3D. Now, I know people say the CGI in this movie is not great. Honestly though, I don't hate it as much as other people do. I actually kind of enjoy this movie. I don't know a whole lot about Green Lantern as a whole. I don't know a whole lot about really anything about the character. It's just, I think Ryan Reynolds plays the character well. I know some of the CGI is questionable, but at the end of the day, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. I can watch it still and not, like convulse like a lot of people seem to. It's not like La La Land. Don't get me started on La La Land. I have to rewatch La La Land. If you didn't know, I have a personal vendetta against it. This is not that video though. Next up, we go back to Marvel with Guardians of the Galaxy #1. Now, I really have not seen this. However, I want to say that Guardians 1 was a very, very good movie. Guardians 2 was also a good movie, and Guardians 3 was actually my favorite. I think this cast was meant to be, and the only thing I have against this is, once again, I have not seen it, but I do feel like it's that cheap 3D where it's just the main characters stand out from the background kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, the iPhone can do that super easily. It's kind of like a basic camera feature at this point to focus the main character a little more. I'm sure it's not as simple as I'm making it, but that is just what I'm putting out. Next up, we've got Wreck-It Ralph. Fun stories. I've had this Ultimate Collector's Edition since the DVD came out, and I didn't know until I started to get into 3D that this actually has a 3D version of it. It has Blu-ray, Blu-ray 3D, DVD, and digital copy. I really like Wreck-It Ralph. I think it's a really fun movie with, it's almost like a movie idea that wasn't super common. You've got the quirky kid, and we've got Ralph, who's going through this journey of finding himself, and the kid, the glitch, and Fix-It Felix, and all these characters. We see Sonic over here, Eggman, Cubert, and a Pac-Man ghost, and several other characters. But I feel like we said it right. Man of Steel, back to DC. I got confused for a second. We're here. Man of Steel, Henry Cavill as Superman. I can't imagine any other person playing Superman. He plays Superman amazing, and he plays The Witcher amazing. Henry Cavill knows nerdy stuff. He is a true gamer, metaphorically and literally. Next up, we've got How to Train Your Dragon 3D. This has to be one of the most anticipated movies I have not got to yet. Because when it comes to 3D animation, I feel like it's a lot easier to make the movie a more native version of 3D. As you can see, I got them all from the same place, and they were all very close to the same time, so I've not gotten to all of them. And here's another one from those places, and this guaranteed is the cheap kind of 3D, but it's Gulliver's Travels with Jack Black. I really like the just regular version of this movie. I think it's a really fun, funny movie. Jack Black is amazing. I really enjoy Gulliver's Travels, and I really enjoy Jack Black as a whole. School of Rock, Jack Black? Moi. Point Break. The newer one. If I remember correctly, we've got Bodhi, we've got Johnny Utah. I'm trying to find the actors because I'm pretty sure that that's fine. As a movie, I really enjoyed it. I haven't seen the full first Point Break. I think it's a very clever way to tell people basically you can't just do the work life only. You need to get out there. You need to explore and be a little more free with life and take risks and all of that smooth jazz that we're talking. Next up, Ghost Rider. Once again, we're getting into a little bit of a groove here where we're getting a lot of movies from the same place around the same time. because every time I see a 3D movie, you don't really find them a whole lot. And by the way, this is Ghost Rider 2. You don't really see them a lot in public, like just at a movie store. You really have to look, because I've gotten better at finding them over the years, because you look at the spine and usually there's a 3D mark up here or down here. You can see it right there. And Gulliver's Travel has it at the bottom. So that's how I find them a lot quicker nowadays. But you don't see them because 3D like died really quickly, because James Cameron came out with Avatar, the first one in 2009, and it just exploded. And then the technology just kind of wasn't there to support it. 3D TVs were super expensive. VR was not a thing yet. But I really feel like 3D movies should make a comeback. Take it from an avid 3D person that really enjoys 3D versions of stuff. Just do it right, please. That's all we ask. We don't want the cheap versions. We want like you to do them with 3D in mind, not just do the movie and then we'll do 3D in post-production. Stop that. For real. Next up, we've got two of the same movies, but Transformers has some really good moments with 3D. The problem is there's not a lot of it, but in the moments that they do have that I've seen, it's like that pop-out style where, you know, like car parts are flying everywhere, gears and metal stuff all over the place, scraps, and I really like what Transformer does with 3D. I wish they would do more of it, but Transformer Dark of the Moon is honestly one of the easiest 3D movies you can find out there. Now we got an absolute steal. I was looking in Big Lots just for random movies because I was really into 3D movies at the time, so I'm like, oh, I'll look through it. And I stumbled across 300 Rise of the Empire for $5. For a 3D movie, like some of these you've seen go $10, $15. And I got this for $5, and I have not opened it yet. I saw the first 300 movie, it's very good. I'm not sure what the second one's about, so I don't have much to say there. So we move on to Monsters vs. Aliens. This movie is a really, really good movie. I believe, I wouldn't be surprised if it's by DreamWorks, but I could be wrong in that. It is by DreamWorks. And the reason I got this is because I loved the addition to the original movie, which was a little short called Bob's Big Break. And the movie itself came with 3D glasses that could be used on any TV. And it was that animation that really just popped out at you. It really stands out because it's like he was playing with one of those ping pong paddles that has the ball attached to the string, and you just go like this. And it's like the ball was literally coming into your face. Ayo. But you got a dirty mind if you went there. Hey, I admit it. I do. Okay. Moving on. Before that gets questioned. Journey to the Center of the Earth. Underratedly, one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Brendan Fraser in this. Mr. Hunger Games over here. Actually, one of my favorite movies of all time. There's very few movies that I download on my phone that I've watched many, many, many times. If I watched it in high school, study block, like, it's definitely one of my favorite movies. There were very few movies that I chose to watch in study block because every time, I've said it in a previous video, I would play a TV show, it would have some sort of like adult scene in the TV show every time. And I was just like, I can't keep doing this. So I ended up watching movies like Star Wars, Avatar, Journey to the Center of the Earth, stuff like that. And we're going to do these. No, we're not going to do these. We've got my collector's edition of The Force Awakens 3D. And if you see in the background there, that is an unopened version. Because I loved this so much that I was like, yeah, I want an unopened one. There's very, very few movies that I like that much. I'm looking forward to watching these Star Wars movies. And since I said that, we looked at The Last Jedi in 3D. If you've seen these movies in 3D and you want to talk about them, if you just want to talk about the movies in general, let me know down in the comments. Let's have a conversation. And then to round out the Star Wars that I have right now in 3D, we've got Rogue One. This one's I really like the design of this one because it's got all this stuff on the front. Then it gets a little more basic the further you get into it. Rogue One I really enjoyed, especially that Darth Vader scene at the end. Wow, that was quite a return of a legendary character. Side rant on the Star Wars part. When are we gonna get more lightsaber battles? Like cool ones? Like Luke at the end of Mando Season 2? When are we gonna get more of those? I understand people like Mandalorian, Andor, and stuff like that, but my favorite part of Star Wars has always been the Force and lightsaber battles. There's a reason that I want to train in broadsword so that hopefully one day I can be a Star Wars actor, and that's because I want my own lightsaber. I want my own, and not like something that I can just buy. Like, I want a studio to be like, pick from these, kind of like Ewan McGregor got to. Here's like 6 lightsaber hilts, and whichever one you gravitate towards, that's your characters. And you go into character and you're like, which one would I take? And Ewan was like, that one. I absolutely love the making of movies or documentaries of Star Wars, especially the Phantom Menace one. It's so good. Moving on, because that was a side tangent and a half. Star Trek Into Darkness. I'm not as big of a Star Trek fan, I will admit that. However, there are very few people that I know that are both Star Wars and Star Trek fans. There's like a mutual respect. Like, I don't think there's too much like verbal jousting between the two anymore. I think everything like that has gone down a little bit, but that is Star Trek Into Darkness 3D. And Men in Black 3 in 3D. Now, this is Will Smith, Men in Black. If you don't know it, I'm kind of there with you, honestly. I've only seen one of the movies, but before I let you judge the effect, we look at this movie, and honestly, I'm super confused because there's like a locust on the back. Now I kind of have to watch the movie. This is cool though. It says you need a 3D HD TV, which was the problem and why people couldn't, or why 3D kind of died, because they were expensive. But the PlayStation 3 plays these, as well as the PlayStation 4. I'm very upset that PSVR 2 does not have the feature to play 3D movies as 3D movies. I will not buy a PSVR 2 until they do that, and the moment they do, I'm ready. You guys, PlayStation, if you're watching this for some reason, put the software on. There's a growing fan base of 3D connoisseurs. And honestly, if streaming platforms would put 3D movies on them and have a way to watch them, the Oculus Quest is almost like useless when it comes to watching 3D movies, because You can't watch them unless if you rip them off of your own 3D movie, or you watch them through big screen, which you can't buy movies on there. You have to rent them, or you have to buy like a ticket to see it. And then it's like $5 if you want to see it. You get it for like 48 hours, but as you can see, this was $5, and I just own it. I have a problem. I genuinely have a problem. I really, really, really want 3D to make a comeback, and I want it to stay. I want it to stop being a novelty and be an art form. James Cameron treats 3D like an art form, and that's why I would love to work with him. If you didn't know, I'm an actor in my spare time, but I'm an actor. I was an animator. I was in a film degree, so I just have this deep appreciation for movies, and that's why you see me talking about them so much, and why there's going to be so much more to talk about in the future, because I want to tell you guys, I want to talk to you guys about these movies, and tell you what I liked about them, tell you what I thought was interesting, and hopefully you guys go see it and tell me what you like about it and what you think is interesting. If you didn't like it, why you didn't like it, you know. Open up a bit of a conversation there. But next up, we've got a really basic 3D The Universe by the History Channel. I found this for, I believe, $3 at a thrift store. And like I said, I don't ever really turn down finding 3D movies in stores like that, especially at a thrift store for $3. And same thrift store, I got the I, Frankenstein for $2. Have not seen the movie, have not seen the regular version of the movie. The back looks super interesting. If I'm being honest, I saw 3D on it, and I was just like, yep, I'm buying that. That's the level we're at. I did not know we had another Star Wars. However, we do, and it's The Rise of Skywalker. One of these days I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to watch all of these Star Wars ones, and then I'm going to get into the other ones. It's just like I said, the PSVR gets super hot after about an hour, and it weighs down your face, and you need a really comfortable chair on top of all of that. Next up, we're going to look at Avatar. We've already talked about it a little bit. It pretty much brought back the entire 3D industry. I don't remember 3D movies before Avatar, honestly, but I was super young when it came out, so that's probably why. We have the first Marvel movie. Marvel. And we've got Iron Man, Hawkeye, Hulk, Director Fury, Black Widow, Thor, and Captain America. My favorite Avenger has to be Captain America, easily. Until Tom Holland joined, because I absolutely love him as an actor, him as a person, but especially him as Spider-Man. Speaking of Spider-Man, we have the Amazing Spider-Man 3D with a Mr. Andrew Garfield, who also played in Tick, Tick, Boom and Hacksaw Ridge. I really like Andrew Garfield as well. I heard someone say a while back that I think it was Tobey Maguire played the best Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield played the best Peter Parker, and Tom Holland found the mixture, like the right mixture for both of them. So he plays a Peter Parker and Spider-Man in that perfection range. And I honestly find myself agreeing with it. Next up, I was just closing the case, but we've got World War Z. I've seen this in 2D. Honestly, I bought it because it's 3D. I wasn't a huge fan of the movie. It's not a bad movie. It's just, I've never been a huge zombie person. Like, I've kind of watched The Walking Dead, but usually I can't get past like season 2 because I just lose interest. And that's cool, you know? Everybody has their own thing. And this is a hot take. And you're gonna know why in a second, because everyone I've ever known kind of trashes this movie, but I absolutely love this movie. I would say it's one of my like top 50 favorite movies. And the reason I say 50 is because I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of movies. So to be even in the top 100 is like insane. But top 50 is Tron Legacy 3D. The 3D in this, I remember being super cool. It is one of my favorite movies from my childhood, and I still really enjoy it. I liked the actor who played Sam Flynn. I liked the story with Cora, and all around, I just enjoyed Tron Legacy. And I've been so upset ever since I found out there wouldn't be a sequel. I would check like constantly for years if they were gonna bring back like something like that. I know there's a show now, but I do think Tron Legacy is better than people give it credit for. Alright, back to Marvel. Back to Marvel with Thor the Dark World. Thor number 2. I wish Natalie Portman would come back for more movies. I wish she'd come back for Padme Amidala. And I wish that Lady Thor would have lasted longer than she did. Overall, this isn't anything to do with the movie. It's a 3D Dark World. I really wish Natalie Portman would return for good movies that like we all enjoy. Next up, we've got Hotel Transylvania, and we're nearing the end here. We've got 4 more. Hotel Transylvania, very good 3D animated movie. Haven't seen the 3D version, but that is one of my favorite 3D animated movies from when I was younger. We've got Hercules 3D, bought it for $2. Gonna skip right past it because I've never seen it. The fact that it has Dwayne Johnson in it actually piques my interest a lot. Same thing with Dread 3D version, $2 from the thrift store. We're chilling. We're moving on to Spy Kids 3D Game Over. This is the best. I'm putting it out there. This is the best Spy Kids movie there was. Game Over was my absolute favorite. I remember being at my grandma's house and watching this on VHS. And before you say what's VHS, you stop it. You stop it right now. But the whole idea of them like playing this video game to beat this big boss was super cool. I have not seen the full 3D version of it, but I do remember the 3D being pretty cool. And I'm gonna open up a case again. I thought this came with glasses, but it did not. And as you can see, here's one of the mini games that they played. Honestly, I might watch that after this recording. That's how much I actually enjoy that movie. And next up, and finally actually, we've got Pixel in the 3D. Super enjoyable movie. I like Peter Dinklage, I like Adam Sandler. Josh Gad, I believe his name is. Kevin James is funny. Yeah, and overall, it's just a very fun movie. It brings back all the love of the old games. I'm blanking on the arcade style games. That's the word I was looking for, arcade. That's the word of the day, arcade. But Pixel is another one of those movies that I consider in the top 100 of my favorite movies of all time. So we're going to start with this game. This is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace for PS1. Let me tell you about this game because it drove me freaking bananas for the longest time. And if you want to know why that is, this is one of those games that doesn't tell you what to do. And it's also from that era where you only have a certain amount of deaths until the entire game restarts. So I'd be doing good in the first level, maybe die on the second level once, and I'm like, okay, I really gotta focus up. And then bang, 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 bang. I would die the second time. I got so good at that first level, I had just never got good enough at the second. Without cheat codes, the second level is the furthest I ever got. Now with cheat codes, you can turn on invincibility. I literally bought a PlayStation 1 just so I could use cheat codes on this game. This game drove me to buy a whole system so that I could finally finish it. And yeah, I could have watched videos, but come on. I played this as a kid. I had to finish it as an adult. I had to. If you didn't notice, I have a Fairy Tail shirt on, which is the anime I'm kind of in a not love-hate relationship, but like a love, not pay attention to kind of relationship. But next is the game that I played the most as a kid by far. Lego Star Wars, the video game. And if you're wondering what that is the first 3 levels out of the complete saga game, or this is 2023, so the Skywalker saga. But those aren't technically the same games. They play a lot different. But I would find myself playing this all the time, and I didn't know how to unlock level 4 for the longest time, so I just pretty much played, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna 100% this game because I play it so much. And then episode 4 unlocked just the first episode, like part of it. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I wonder if there's like a second game. And there eventually would be. And I'm pretty sure there was actually already a second game out. Could be wrong about that. There was Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, which my friend had and I freaking loved. But I never have played it yet. I haven't gotten to play it yet, so it didn't quite make this video. Next up, we've got Crash Bandicoot Twin Sanity. And I sold at the end there. But this was one of my absolute favorite games when I got it. I had never really played a Crash Bandicoot game before this. And this boss right here that my middle finger is pointing to, I remember that boss so vividly. That is one of the main parts of this game I remember super vividly. I don't think I ever finished this because as a kid I really wouldn't finish games all the way through other than Star Wars. But it was a lot of fun. Quick story, I actually got a new version of this game for less than $1, brand new, completely factory sealed, never opened. It was in my neighbor's garage and she just let me have it. She's like, just $1. And I'm like, okay. I will do that. Next. We've got Def Jam Fight for New York. This game drove me bonkers, absolutely bonkers. I got through so much of this game, but I just got to a certain point where it's like, I literally can't do this. This was back when I was like actually decent at like remembering combos and stuff, but now I'm just kind of like a button masher when it comes to these type of games, and that means I'm terrible at them. But I remember when I got this and just playing through it all the time. And honestly, it was one of the first games where I had to like remember combos, and it was just really cool. You could like customize your character and everything. You could customize your attributes. It was really cool. I hope one day I get to play these all on like a live stream or something. I don't even know, like, that's so far down the road. I just launched the channel. Alright, next up. No, you can't see yet. You cannot see yet. But if you think of a game that was for PS2, Star Wars related, what would it be? Battlefront 2. My absolute favorite Battlefront game of all time. Now the crazy part is Battlefront 2 for the PS4 is my second favorite Battlefront game. I think they did a really good job on that with the story mode and just the online game modes. To be fair, I did like the first PS4 Battlefront game, but that's only because I really enjoyed the physics behind the space battles. That was by far my favorite game mode on that game. Other than that, big yikes. But I remember getting to play as a Jedi. Like, you had to work your way up towards it. Or there was one game mode where you could just be Jedi versus Jedi. And it was so freaking cool. But let's move on to Assassin's Creed. It was bound to happen that there was an Assassin's Creed game in this video. I'm a big fan of history, and I honestly feel like Assassin's Creed is a big contributor to that. And why do you say the third one? This was my absolute favorite subject in history when I was playing through the game. The Revolutionary War is one of my all-time favorite history lessons that I've ever learned, and I like to learn about it from like here and then now. But basically, Connor is my favorite protagonist in any Assassin's Creed game. I've always been a fan of Native Americans as well, and just the idea of, everything that Native Americans think, being part of the land, just not using like muskets and stuff. I'm not a huge gun person. I really think it'd be really dope if we went back to swords. That would be really cool, because then it's like you gotta challenge someone to a duel. And now with a gun, you gotta know your stuff. But next, we are dealing with Call of Duty. This was another one that was bound to come up. But my all-time favorite Call of Duty game is Black Ops 2. Now, you may be wondering, why, Scotty? Let me tell you. This is the game that I got a PS3 to play. Before I got this game, the most recent system I had was a Wii, and I got the PS3 right when this came out. So what is that, 2013? I think so. So I got this, and I got to play with my friends all the time, and just really enjoy my time with it. I really loved the campaign. I really enjoyed the online. Peacekeeper, Target Finder was the GOAT. The AN-94 with the Target Finder was also the GOAT. The Target Finder was just super fun. It was cheesy, but it was fun. And then the DMR was my favorite sniper to quickscope with. I was an absolute lethal quickscoper in this game. I can't really do it as much anymore. I can pull it off sometimes when I even choose to play Call of Duty these days. But I was literally in a clan dedicated to quickscoping with my friends. It was really cool. This was the most camaraderie game I've ever owned that wasn't a sports game. Alright, we're getting into some of my platinum trophy games. So I loved them. Spider-Man, this game was so amazing. This is one of the first platinum trophies I ever got. Not the first one, because that goes to Astro's Playroom for the PS5, because I feel like that's a lot of people's first platinum. It's just such a fun little game, but this game has such fun gameplay, and it has such great animations and story, and it all comes together to make this chef's kiss of a game. Alright, next up, we're getting a little controversial here, but Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I played this game the night it came out, and I only ran into one game-breaking bug, And once I reloaded the game, it was gone. So I was one of the very lucky few that got to play this game without really any problems. I did not play it on PS4, let me just say that. I played it on PC, but I eventually got it on PS4 because I'm like, it's $5. Yes, please. Because I 100%ed it on Steam, but then I went back and I was like, you know what? Doing all those menial tasks wasn't enough. Let me go and do it again on the PS4. I actually believe I did the PS5 edition because the upgrade was out when I started to play it. A very fun game. I really liked the story. When the story first came out, or when the game first came out, the story was amazing and something that I really needed. I believe it was like the end of 2020, and it's just this story of love, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I needed this so badly. It has been a year. Next up, we've got a more recent, I believe this was my 20th platinum trophy. Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima. I have not played the DLC, but this is one of my favorite gameplays of all time. Probably right behind Spider-Man as like that type of action-packed gameplay. Second, we will go over the next one and probably the next part because this is already a little long, but just the whole samurai thing, finding everything, the mini boss battles, the main boss battles, the con. They knew what they were doing when they went into this. I did not play the DLC, like I said, but it was so worth the platinum. Next up, we've got GTA 5, Grand Theft Auto 5. And I feel like a lot of people have played a lot of this game and don't have it on their favorite list, which is weird. But I mean, it's just a really enjoyable time when you're chilling with your friends. You know, a lot of memories were made on this game as well, with a whole new friend group from the PS3 Black Ops 2 days. Let's be real, that's most of our stories. But I just remember, you know, driving around in my armored Kuruma. I was the wheelman and I drove everybody, and we did the missions and we did all the DLC and everything, and we just like chill in the car driving around singing with each other. It was so much fun. But eventually we moved on to like 2K and then it got a little a lot more competitive, let's put it that way. Now you've probably been eyeing this game while it's been slightly in camera. Battlefront 2. When this first came out, many of you would not have agreed with me, and fair. But I really like the story in this game. I think Aiden's story overall in her arc was really good. I really enjoy the online components as well. This one, I didn't enjoy the star fighting as much. Like, I didn't enjoy being a pilot as much, but there were other game modes that tided me over for the meantime in place of those. And actually one of my favorite missions on the PS2 edition was actually the fighters as well. So this is the first Battlefront game that I was not a huge fan of the just piloting aspect. Alright, and you've probably been wondering, Scotty, you really have Spider-Man, but you don't have Miles Morales. Get out of here. Yes, I do. The PS5 edition, launch edition, Spider-Man, Miles Morales. This game was freaking fantastic. I really enjoyed this game. Honestly, like, there's a reason I don't review games, because I just really love things, and it's like, how do you put that into words? But the swinging mechanic, I platinumed the game. The platinum doesn't require you to do just menial stuff. Like, it's all super fun. The gameplay from Spider-Man came into Miles Morales, and then we got to learn more about Miles because we first met him into the Spider-Verse, right? But this is one of my favorite Spider-Men, and it's because of the movie. I wouldn't say it's because of the game, because the game story wasn't like my favorite. It was really good, but it wasn't like top 5 favorite games of ASMR Scotty. But it was definitely up there. For PlayStation alone, it's in top 5, but overall, finally we get into the game that I have platinumed way too many times. Persona 5, Persona 5, Persona 5, Persona 5, Persona 5. This, I have platinum. The story, I gotta tell you the story. So my friend is the one that recommended this game to me. And basically I told him, I'm like, alright, I'll check it out. So I bought it when it was on sale, just the original Persona 5 for the PS4. Not for the PS3, but for the PS4. And I started it and I'm like, this isn't really for me. I didn't really get past the first interrogation scene because I was never a fan of like turn-based RPGs. But then he's like, for months, he just badgered me. He's like, bro, you gotta play this, bro, you gotta play this, bro, you gotta play this, bro, you gotta play this. I'm like, all right, fine. I'll give it like until the first palace. And then he's like, that's all I ask is just play till the end of the first palace. And after the first palace, I'm like, yo, that's messed up. Like, I hope it gets better from here. Like, I hope the whole game isn't this dark. But that is one of the darker ones. I was super excited when I heard that this was getting a PS5 release, because after I finally platinum Persona 4, which is a lot harder than Persona 5 Royale for PS4, it made me want to play the PS4 version of Persona 5 Royale so much more, because I was like, that'll be light work. And it would have been if I would have maxed out the guidance counselor. But I didn't, and he left the school, and I didn't know you needed to max him out in order, or just get him to rank 7, I believe. And I was like, bro, this is the same ending. Why am I playing the same ending? Like, we got a little bit of a new character with Kasumi, but the guidance counselor was just like, why is he even here? And then I looked it up because I finished the game, and I realized the reason it was the same ending was because you need to rank up the guidance counselor. So I had to play it again. I had played Persona 5, the original PS4 version, twice, because that has to be done. It takes 2 playthroughs to get that platinum. But Persona 5 Royale is not supposed to be played twice in order to get the platinum. It should be able to be done in 1 playthrough. Not for me. But I did get the platinum, silver lining, and now I have the PS5 edition because there was like nothing good for Black Friday for 2022. So I'm just like, let me just get this upgrade, have another like 80 hours of fun, get the platinum, and just enjoy my time. Starting off with this game right here, Star Wars The Phantom Menace. I've played this game several times. I've had it since I was a kid. I would play it on my PS2 actually. And the reason I would do it, and I do it so much, is because there is no save game. There is no hand holding. There isn't a tutorial. For a kid, that's a lot, but let me add this a little bit of extra snippet of knowledge on you. You have 2 lives in this game. You die twice, you start over. It is crazy hard, and honestly, I refused to play this. Not in general, but for a long time I just refused to play because it was such a headache. But every time I refused, I'd go back to it and be like, alright, this is the time. And I'd inch a little further into chapter 2 of the game, and there's like 8 chapters, and then I'd die twice, and then I'm like, alright, I'm not playing this again. And then sure enough, it'd just be a vicious cycle. it got to the point where I honestly got a PS3 around like 2012 or something, and I put my efforts into that and online gaming from then on. But I had always wanted to go back and beat this game, and this story does have a happy ending. I bought a PS1 and finished the game by using the cheat codes. So, let that be a lesson to you that if at first you don't succeed, look up to see if there's an invincibility cheat code. Next up, we've got Mystery. This is Star Wars Episode 1, Jedi Battles. I am going to be brief with this one because honestly I've never played it. It looked really cool when I bought it, and I just haven't gotten around to playing it. I've been doing other things, but it does look like a very fun game, a little Jedi on Sith action, just fighting each other. Those types of games are always fun for a little bit. And I say for a little bit out of experience. Next, one of the greatest Star Wars games ever. Wow. I didn't even mean to do that. It says, fight more of the greatest Star Wars battles any way you want. Now, this, as a kid, was one of my favorite PS2 games that there was out there. Because I loved being the Jedi and doing like heroes versus villains. And just like fighting Sith and everything, and just having unlimited lives and having fun with all the Jedi. It was so much fun. I know like so many people I know have great experiences with this game. And if you're one of them, just let me know, because I love to hear stories about people just having fun with this game. Next up, a little bit of nostalgia in the PS2 section. Star Wars, the video game, which, if you didn't know, is the first 3 levels of the complete saga. Not the Skywalker saga, I mean the complete saga, which was episode 1 through 6 all combined. But I had this one because this is what was out when I was a kid. I would play this game so much. This had to be my most played game by far. And honestly, my favorite character was always Anakin. Overall, that's my favorite character out of all the movies and all the shows. When we include shows, Ahsoka creeps a lot closer than anything else. It's always gone Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka for those 3. But I remember there's like a mini hidden feature in this game where it's like if you collect all of the minifigures from each level on all 3 episodes, you unlock the first mission in episode 4, which is being on the Tantive 4, escaping from the Imperials who were storming onto it. And it was so cool to find that little Easter egg, I guess you would say. You had to work for it real bad, because this was a time when I didn't have internet. So I had to find all of the mini-kids by myself with no guide. It was crazy, but I did do it. It took many more hours than it probably would today, because today I'd just be like, where is this on this level in this episode? And I'd have all 10 of them super easy. But next up. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I'm gonna be honest, this is another game that I haven't gotten to play yet, but I did start it up, I fired it up right when I got it, and I thought it was super cool to see the graphics enhanced from Episode 1 being on the PS1. I would honestly love a remaster or a remake of these, Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3. I would love a remake of these games, or just a remaster, one of the two. They were just so fun, but for no reason. Speaking of which, Star Wars, the Clone Wars. I'm just now noticing that says the Clone Wars and not Attack of the Clones, which is very strange. I know they were called the Clone Wars, don't get me wrong. But I wonder if this is the second game. It is the second game, I'm pretty sure. But once again, I haven't played that one. And for 3 in a row, I have not played the original trilogy yet. Now, you would think, since I've played the video game so much, why haven't I played Star Wars 2, the original trilogy? Well, the thing with that is, by the time that I got this game, I got this at a thrift store for 99 cents, not bad. And it actually has, like, everything with it, including the manual. But I bought it probably within the past, like, 5 to 10 years. And I was, like, really into the PS3 and 4 in that time. So it's like, I was slowly getting these games, but, like, I wasn't playing them because I was just so busy playing online with my friends on PS4 or PS3 with my Black Ops 2 moments and stuff like that. But yeah, 4 in a row. The Force Unleashed 2. The Force Unleashed 2. To be fair, I've played part of this game. I've not played the whole game, but I've played part of it. And from what I've played, it's a very cool continuation of the original story. Alright. Star Wars, the Clone Wars. The power of the lightsaber in your hands. This is Star Wars, the Clone Wars lightsaber duels. The thing about this game is it's really, really fun in doses. But that was the lightsaber duels. I didn't play it too much. I played every character on there, and I played against every character on there, and it was really fun. But it's just like, I've never been the person to go into like freestyle mode and just like fight for the sake of fighting. I need some sort of an objective to work towards. Now we get to one of my all-time favorite Star Wars games. The Force Unleashed. The Force Unleashed. Unleash the power of the Force. For the Nintendo Wii. I've gotta say, when the Wii came out, it was like insane for me. That was like the first new system I got in my life, because my dad had already owned a PS2 and I played on there. It was like the Wii came out right after, or not too long after the GameCube. I did have a GameCube for a while, but I sold it to my friend for $20. To be fair, I did buy a game, have fun with it, and then, you know, yeah, the GameCube's worth more today, but anyway, The Force Unleashed. This was a fantastic story with Starkiller. I loved the customization ability, I loved the gameplay, I loved the story. At the end of this, it's been so long since I played this, but like fighting the Jedi Masters on the different planets and obtaining crystals and stuff, it was super cool at the time. Like, this is like the best, not the best, but like of that era, that was by far the best version of that game. Because today we've got Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor coming out. And those are just like better versions of this game. And when I say better, I don't mean just like story-wise. I'd say they're both pretty even. It's just graphically and gameplay-wise. And they're not on the Nintendo Wii. So that means you can't like slash with your hands, which maybe that's a downgrade on Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. But speaking of where that's an upgrade, using the Nintendo Wii controllers and the nunchucks for some Lego Star Wars Complete Saga. Kick some brick in 1 through 6. This was the game I played once again religiously on the Wii. I would get to the point where I could like go into the golden brick area and just do these weird fun little mini games for golden bricks. I didn't do that too often. I was more of a fan of just playing 1 through 6 at any point that I could, but I've been avoiding these two, but let's get into them. We've got Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I believe this is the first one. It is. Okay, so Knights of the Old Republic is a really fun game, but I've never been one of those people that I like to button mash. So this type of game where you have to like strategically pick and choose in real time, it's just like, it was never for me. Now, to be fair, I'm getting out of that. I played through Persona 5 so many times, Persona 5 Royale, so I'm getting there. And I really do want to play Knights of the Old Republic because I like Revan and I like Bastila Shan. And I like all the other Old Republic characters that come with this, but those are the main two for me. Top 3 relationship in Star Wars, I'm going to say Bastila and Revan for me. Now we get to a game I have not played at all because it wouldn't work when I tried to open it on Steam. This is Star Wars Empire at War. And if you're wondering what kind of game this is, I believe it's where you like build up your army. If you've ever played Age of Empire, it's a lot like that from what I've seen. It looks like a super fun game, but like I said, over on Steam it just wouldn't launch without crashing, so I never got to play it. Or maybe I'm thinking Galactic Battlegrounds. My bad. But it's definitely a game that I'm interested in getting into. Now, if I do, this is an idea I'm just having, if I put it into like, what are they called? VPN? Basically the virtual system, not a virtual private network, like an actual virtual box, use VirtualBox to create a computer that can like actually play this game. I've done that before with Yoda Stories, which I'm just remembering I don't have over here. So this is almost all of my Star Wars games. To be fair, a lot of them are on Steam or digital version on PS4. But if I did that, I could play this game finally. Alright, we get into The Force Awakens Lego Edition, which I have not played. I did play the Skywalker Saga. I platinumed it on the PS5 edition. It was a really good game, but it wasn't the complete saga, honestly. Like, there's just, the complete saga is another level. Like, complete saga is S tier, Skywalker Saga is A tier, easily. But The Force Awakens, I've been meaning to get into this game lately. I just haven't, because I've been I got into like a little spell where I platinumed like all the games I was playing. Like, I was trophy hunting all the time. That was like my form of stress relief. So that was that. Here we have the PS3 edition of Star Wars, the complete saga. And while we're at it, we're gonna go Star Wars 3, the Clone Wars, which I also haven't played. But the reason I didn't stay with the complete saga for PS3 is, I mean, it's just a different console, but the story is the same. The PS3 edition I haven't played a whole lot, but my problem is like I mentioned in yesterday's video, the complete saga was going off of PlayStation Plus, so I'm like, how am I gonna play this? Because it was only available through stream through the PS3, through PS Plus, so I was just like, if I find it, I'm gonna buy it. And I finally found it. Once again, we have the PS4 edition of The Force Awakens. I remember the first time I got this game, I didn't play it per se. I booted it up, but I didn't play it. But I got it from my local library, because I guess libraries carry video games now. That's just a thing that happens. Why? I don't know. Alright. Here's my hot take of the video. Star Wars Battlefront for the PS4 was not that bad of a game. If before you hit that dislike, alright, hear me out while I'm nerding out, okay? The space battles in this game were very fun. I'm not gonna say the rest of it was perfect. I'm not even gonna say the rest of it was good. But the space battles were fun. And that's really the only game mode I played because I was like an ace pilot that just like destroyed people. And then we get into our final physical copy that I own, Battlefront 2 for the PS4, the new edition, which at launch wasn't like a fantastic game. And then there were those problems with the whole pay to win kind of thing, or the lottery system. The loot boxes is what was like a big thing like 5 years ago, to the point where UK banned them. But the story for this, I remember it being super fun, and I actually just played it the other day, and I had a lot of fun on it. As long as it's not Supremacy. Supremacy is way too big for me. I have not played like a shooter game in a long time, so I did not enjoy that. I went like 1 in 10. I was terrible. But it was fun. Even though I was terrible at it, it was very fun. But I've got several other games that are just, what are they called? Digital edition. So, like, I've got the Platinum for Jedi Fallen Order on the PS5 edition. I didn't do that on the PS4 edition because I'm like, hey, I just got this PS5, let me Platinum the game on it, because I almost did it with PS4. This was before my trophy hunting days, where I would have loved for the PS4 edition to just carry that trophy over and auto-pop the trophies. But can't change the past. I've had this for a little bit now, but it's never really been a part of anything. It was never a part of the background. It was never a part of any videos. And it just kind of sat idly by, waiting for me to find a place for it. And while I don't have a complete place for it yet, I thought it's officially time to add to the canon of our channel. Now, perhaps from the thumbnail you kind of understand what's going on here. And if you understand how my background looked before, how there were lightsabers on all the shelves and Legos and everything, you might be able to guess it's one of those two things. And as the thumbnail and title suggests, you probably solved it. You're smart. You're a smart cookie. So, what lightsaber could it possibly be? There's so many. There's even, I've come to learn, a Revan lightsaber, which I really want to get my hands on because he's like one of my favorite non-canon Star Wars characters out there. Is he canon at this point? I don't know. He was in the Clone Wars deleted scenes. That's cool. But the Old Republic book with him in it, I'm pretty sure was classified as Legends. I don't know if that's been fixed. I don't know. I'm saying all this, and it is not the lightsaber. It is not the Yoda lightsaber. We've already seen the Obi-Wan and the Anakin and the Luke and Leia and all those ones we've seen in the background already. Now, it is a recent Lego minifigure that we got, and we got for the first time. It is Pulp Fiction legend, Marvel leader, absolute icon, Mace Windu, aka Samuel L. Jackson's lightsaber. Now, this lightsaber has been around, and I honestly, the reason I didn't have a place for it at the last place was I wanted it to stick out, and I couldn't ever come up with an idea of how to make that happen. But now that we are in our new setup, we've got tons of opportunity. So, without further ado, a little bit of history, a little bit of fun, a little bit of happiness, sadness, all the emotions. Let's get into seeing this new lightsaber. And this is just a slip cover, so I'm going to slide it out. Alright, we've got the lightsaber right here. And right here, we've got the purple insignia for the Jedi. The only purple insignia I've seen out there so far. Now, I do like what they did with the design of this box. I will say, however, the ones from the Disney parks are really cool how they come with that plastic version of this. This one is certainly not that, but it's got the same cool design. It's kind of like, it feels like the in-between a little bit. Opening it up right here. And we've got our first look at the lightsaber. We've got a bit of grip here, a lot of grip down here. We've got the gold right here, silver color right here, and it's kind of all around just this mix of purple and silver, because Mace Windu was an absolute baller, and he had to let the world know through his lightsaber. It's crazy how Darth Sidious is the only other person I know that chose this mixture of gold and silver. And the fun part about that is Mace Windu actually pushed the limits of what it really meant to be a Jedi. The reason they've come up with for Mace Windu having a purple lightsaber is because he was constantly pushing that barrier of, is it a Sith ability or is it a Jedi ability? Is it a light side force ability? Is it a dark side force ability? And honestly, Mace Windu is known for kind of pushing into the dark side a little bit to achieve his tasks. And his whole story is really cool. I know at first they were just like, what color lightsaber do you want, blue or green? And Sam Jackson was just like, I want purple. But the story they've built around it now is really cool. I would suggest looking at a channel like Star Wars Theory and figuring out, those things, or your other favorite Star Wars channels. There's so many out there. I just remember from my days in that whole grouping that I would watch Star Wars Theory. But we've seen the lightsaber now for a little bit. We've seen this lightsaber. But gotta get the cap out. And now we have the stage set. This comes with a few things actually. This, I believe, is this is a belt clip. Set that off to the side. This is a stand. this is part of the stand. Put that up there. And then finally, we've got these two little hooks right here. And we will also put those hooks right there. We have the directions also. But what I'm trying to get to is, I believe underneath should be the blade so that I can show you the color of this bad boy. There is the long foam piece. What are we dealing with here? Just a little foam padding, I would believe, for the mount. Alright, so now we have the blade. The blade. And for those of you that aren't as versed in either Star Wars or just sword fighting in general, this is considered the hilt, and this part, the part of the sword that actually has the sharp parts, is the part that's actually the blade. Now there's more specific parts of it that I'm not going to get into, but there's actually a lot more about swords than the average person realizes. While I take this off, I was trained in theater combat, so that's why I know a bit about swords and all of that jazz, because of the fact that I knew, or I'm technically trained in unarmed and broadsword, so that's why I know a little bit about swords. Let's see here. I'm really glad I didn't talk during that, because I would have had to quiet the whole thing. Let's finish this up. Alright, so this is it with the blade. I'm going to take a quick hiatus and go put the new batteries in, because these batteries have been in way too long and I need to switch them out so that we can actually see the color that it is meant to be. So hold on tight and I will see you in 3, 2, 1. There we go. We got our little screwdriver here. We've got our battery pack and we've got our batteries. So let's just continue on. And there we go. It's loose enough to take out. Just gonna take this part out here, if it so chooses. There we go. Okay. So, okay, I see. So this actually was just like a piece of tape almost. There's one battery out and one battery in. Ooh, that's the spring side. That's why it's so hard. There we go. 2 batteries out. 2 batteries in. And finally, 3rd battery out. 3rd battery in. And we put this back over here. And there we go. It is ready to go back in the lightsaber. So we're just gonna find the groove of where this goes in. There we go. And we're gonna place back in the bottom. Now, if I've done this right, alright. I had to make it a little lower for the noise, obviously, but it was very cool, very bright, very purple. And that will be the end of this video. I wanted to show you this new lightsaber. You know, it's eventually going to end up in the background in some way, shape, or form because it is such a cool lightsaber, such a unique lightsaber. So I hope you enjoyed. I thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next video.